Jim Harbaugh is now the coach for the Los Angeles Chargers. This makes my heart warm. For somebody that loves Justin Herbert's game, I feel like the disrespect on Herbert.
All the top guys.
I really do. I really do. What can I say?
Basically, everyone except Jim
I just want to tell you something. I just want to tell you. Well, Hurts is not an elite QB. How about you stop the disrespect? Stop the disrespect. He's not. But Justin Herbert, I don't know if y'all knew this, but back in 2020, I was really in tune with both fans. They say Chargers fans don't have fans. They do got fans. And they was very in tune, and I was a big Justin Herbert supporter. I thought Brandon Staley was going to be a better coach. As soon as I saw him hire Joe Lombardi, I said, oh, yeah, this is going to be a disaster because Joe Lombardi wasn't a good OC in his previous stops. The way Jim Harbaugh can build up a team, the way he built up the Niners, 3 NFC Championship games, 1 Super Bowl appearance, and 3 seasons. The way he built up Drew's favorite college football program, Michigan, got a championship, and then said goodbye. He said, I just wanted a championship, and now I'm off to the NFL.
He's supposed to get a couple over there.
He's a legend, but you're right. He should have got a couple last year.
Rumor has it Jim Harbaugh's favorite quarterback right now is Justin Herbert. So it's no surprise that he picked the Chargers to go and coach. Justin Herbert is an elite quarterback talent. We talk about the elite quarterbacks in the league. You know I'm the biggest fan of Joe Burrow, and the 2020 quarterback class will always be along with one another. Justin Herbert is a more talented quarterback than Joe Burrow. And if he can get maximized and he can get in the right situation, Justin Herbert can win at that high of a level. And I think Jim Harbaugh gives the Chargers the best chance to do that. This was A+ hire, and it's unbelievable. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Chargers are.
I'm glad you see the light on that because I've been saying that for years. I think Herbert is top 2, top 3 most talented in the league. I say I fell off minimally. I just feel like people associate me too much with the Chargers and Herbert, and I feel like I need to.
You fell off with your Herbert love, man.
You took Hurts over him.
You did.
Hey, I'm fine with that. This season,
Hurts
was better. Yeah. This season, Hurts was better.
He finished with the 89 passer rating.
Hurts, really? You're going to do that? You're going to do that?
Those last 6 weeks are so nasty, man. They were so nasty.
You look at the first 11.
From top to bottom.
The first 11 weeks, when I said that statement, there was very few better than him. Very few. But again, I still have been very consistent that Herbert is still one of the most talented in the league. And of course, this felt a little bit inevitable. It was either Belichick or Harbaugh. You mentioned how Harbaugh has spoken very, very nicely on Herbert's name, and you know that offense is going to be electric next season. I anticipate fully that the staff of guys that they're going to hire is going to be conducive to put the best product possible out for the Chargers. The Chargers needed a power move, and with the history of coaches that they've had, this is that hire that you look at. This is the one that's going to turn the page for the Los Angeles Chargers, similar to how he did with the San Francisco 49ers when he came in and he turned that franchise on its head. So I say this very bittersweetly. I miss him dearly in Michigan for what he was able to do for our program, but now that love's gone, sadly. I'll always love him for what he did for us in Michigan, but now you're a division rival, and yeah, you hurt me. You cut me deep. You're going into a situation where we've always known that they're a couple things away. A great coach, someone that's going to be an offensive mind that can help Herbert. You got both of those things in Jim Harbaugh. And 2, of course, the defensive mind, which they thought that they had in Brandon Staley. That obviously wasn't it. But I have full confidence that Harbaugh's going to be able to bring in a defensive coordinator that's going to get that unit together. So I'm going to have to live with this because now where this group of coaches is one of the best coaches in any division, talking about the AFC West, of course, with Sean Payton, Andy Reid, I respect Antonio Pierce, and now Jim Harbaugh. This is going to be
the worst coaching division.
Again, you said
better
that.
Than Antonio Pierce.
He is better. I
don't know. I like Antonio.
Hey, this time next year, we have a different conversation. We'll see what happens with the Broncos, man.
We'll see what we do at quarterback. But right now, I don't feel great. We got better from last year. We got better from last year. 1 year with him, he already improved our squad and our situation, I should say, even though it was pretty ugly. But credit to the Chargers.
What are you doing?
Shout out to Jim Harbaugh. And
you trying to look up
he's looking up some old clips on Justin Herbert. He's gonna find and be like, I told you guys back in 2019.
No, what he should be looking for is that first video that blew up for Pick His Side.
The Chargers
with
one.
The Chargers, Joe Burrow versus Justin Herbert.
Is that you and John?
And no, that was
Jack.
him and Jack.
Yeah.
And he took Herbert. I think they both took Herbert.
That's ironic.
But it is super ironic because then he went full 180 which is why I've brought up that video to him multiple times. I'm like, so what happened in that time period? Look, he's laughing.
No, I'm laughing at this title. It's the title is "The Chargers Let Down Justin Herbert Again." That was back in that was 3 years ago.
And that's all they've done. That's all they've done. That's all the defense has consistently let him down. Where he puts up points, the defense lets him up immediately. People are saying I'm saying his name wrong. How am I mispronouncing?
Hey, listen, brother, I pronounce a lot of shit wrong, so
Hey, listen, you're not wrong. I definitely took Burrow over Herbert, and I would still take Burrow over Herbert. But in terms of the talent between the two, it was never in question for me. Like, Herbert is more talented.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, it credit to him because he's been
fuck,
a top
man?
3, top 5
Is that not
quarterback,
true?
but I don't think he's your top 3
no
talent.
comment.
Like, I think where Burrow has thrived is he's maximized what he can do physically. He can make 90% of all throws. Herbert can make 100. That's the difference between the two.
Yeah, like I don't think he has his arm strength nowhere near where Justin Herbert is off platform, those type of throws.
This is funny. This is a video back when I was like, I think Justin Herbert was a rookie and he had a bad game against the Patriots. The title was Justin Herbert had his worst game against the Patriots. Why it wasn't that bad. Why it wasn't that bad. VBS is gonna love that one.
I saw VBS
Herbert
was back.
apologist.
Is he back?
Just
no.
talking about Josh.
Wait, it was one thing about Josh Allen.
Yeah,
I was
of
like,
course.
this is your first tweet back.
Never in question.
He said Josh Allen will never win a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
And I don't know if he tweeted anything since then.
But honestly though, we always have been high on the Chargers. I think they always just disappoint us.
I think every year we
yeah.
have them making the playoffs for some wild reason, and they don't.
I had the Chargers as the first seed for the 2022 NFL season in the preseason.
They're always talented.
Yeah.
Over the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said.
I had
that.
them winning the division
They're always
too.
talented, but the coaching wasn't there. The injuries always piled up, and then players just underperformed. A+ higher. There's not much here. Jim Harbaugh was probably the top one, if not top 2 candidates in this coaching cycle. He's been flirting with the NFL for years. We know what he did with the 49ers. The fact that the first year he took over, the Niners go from 6 wins to 11 wins. The offense and defense do a complete 180 and turn from one of the worst units in the NFL to one of the best units in the NFL. I love this for the Chargers. They needed to go out there and not just get a head coach that's going to maximize Justin Herbert, but they need someone to build a culture there. It feels like forever. It feels like maybe never in my lifetime that they had a legitimate culture. Maybe go back to like Phillip Rivers, LT days. But since then, this last decade or so, it doesn't really feel like they've had a culture of winning or someone that's been a stabilizer at head coach who could consistently win. And that's what Jim is going to be able to bring to this team. Going from the 49ers, then to Michigan, ending his career there with the Natty. It's what I think he wanted to do with San Francisco. Unfortunately, he fell a little bit short. And I think the biggest positive out of all of this, outside of just helping the Chargers, is this team is going to be able to build through the draft, right? I think I mentioned this probably a couple weeks ago when we were talking about Jim Harbaugh and when we said when Pete Carroll first got to Seattle, how did they get these guys like Richard Sherman in the middle of the draft and guys like that? Jim Harbaugh is going to be able to do very similar stuff. Is he going to get a Hall of Famer, on day 2, day 3? Who knows? But he's going to be able to get high-impact players immediately. And the Chargers having a franchise quarterback, I don't think they're that far away. I think a lot of people are saying, you got to give it a year or two. It's too much to expect them year 1 to be able to completely turn around this team. But I think there's talent on this Chargers roster. It's just going to be about 1, maximizing it, and 2, being able to stay healthy. This team has been destroyed by injuries, what feels like every single season. This year, of course, Justin Herbert missed a good portion of the season. If they're able to stay healthy, I think Harbaugh is going to be able to really uplift this team. The ceiling all of a sudden becomes like a Super Bowl type ceiling. Maybe not this season, but just in general, having an A+ coach is going to give you that type of ceiling. It's hard not to look at this move and really nitpick it or find anything negative about it. I think the only thing that you could maybe nitpick is at the end of the 49ers tenure, a lot of players kind of got sick of his message and kind of got sick of like whether it was the same stories he was telling, whether it was just the same things he was kind of beating on day after day. Players got sick of it. That was one of the reasons he ended up leaving San Francisco. But that's really the only negative thing that you could even say about that. And even still, he had a very nice run of San Francisco, winning a lot, making it to NFC Championship games, making it to a Super Bowl. So, he's going to come in and be one of the best coaches in the NFL.
You look at the Baltimore Ravens, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, you look at the San Francisco 49ers. What's been pretty consistent with those guys? An elite head coach, Andy Reid, John, his twin brother, and Kyle Shanahan. So I think, it's easy. It's a different story when, like, you have a coach coming in and you're drafting a guy as opposed to a coach coming in, a veteran coach, a guy who's been on the NFL scene, who's been in the college scene. He's won at a high level at both. He may not have won the Super Bowl in the NFL, but he's won at a high level in the NFL. Comes in and he already has a guy who's top 5 at his position. You know, a guy who still has yet to reach his peak, a guy who still can get better. So I think it's interesting that, and you mentioned it, I think the draft is the most important part for this team because they do have talent, but it's either old or they're injured. You know, Khalil Mack, he's getting up there in age. Bosa's injured a lot. Keenan Allen's also up there in age. Mike is coming off an injury. And, you know, they did draft Quentin, but he had probably one of the worst wide receiver rookie years in NFL history. So, and Austin Eckler, will he be back? You know, he's a guy reaching up there in that running back age. So this team is either old or they're dealing with injuries. So hitting on the draft is probably going to be the most important part. But Jim is he's a culture builder. He's a team builder. He built up the Michigan program, which should have, like we talked about before, they should have won multiple championships, but they finally got that big one. And I think he was always waiting to get the championship, then go back to the NFL, you know, but because I thought they would have won last year and then he would have came, but, you know, obviously they lost. But
he came all right.
Yeah, Cook. But yeah, I think him and Herbert are going to be great. And, you know, I mentioned it, Jim, he walks in, he's already the second best coach in his division. You know, you're going into a division with Baltimore where they got their top 2 guys in Lamar and his brother. Then you got Andy and you got Mahomes. So you need another coach that can go toe-to-toe with those other guys. Point. They already have the quarterback that can go toe-to-toe. And not to mention Josh Allen, McDermott. McDermott isn't elite, but he's still a very good coach. You got Josh Allen. So now you got a guy that can get maximized. You got a team that can now be fully maximized. And it's just about who Harbaugh brings into this program, like who's going to be the other staff, because that's always the most important. Because we've seen even Nick Sirianni, he bring in a different staff, and they weren't good, and you saw the Eagles fall off. So I'm excited for the Chargers because we haven't seen them reach that level of expectation we've all wanted at the table. You know, I think we all had them making the playoffs probably 3 years in a row just because of how much talent they have on that roster, and they just failed to reach that expectation. So I think Jim is going to get the best out of these guys.
They have 7 draft picks. Sorry, Does. They have 7 draft picks. I think what's intriguing about where they're drafting is that they're drafting at the 5th spot of each round, which is going to make for a lot of trade down opportunities to acquire even more draft picks. Yeah. And I think that can build up their team pretty fast as well if they go with that approach.
They could stick and pick at 5, right? They could get another weapon. You know, they could go a bunch of different routes, but they could also acquire more draft
I think they have to get another weapon.
AZ is 4, correct?
Yeah.
Because number 3 is the Patriots.
Yeah.
There's a chance
Malik Neighbors 5.
that 1, 2, 3 are all quarterbacks. There's a possibility.
Who would be the third quarterback?
Jaden Daniels going that high. I don't know why he's getting mocked that high.
There is, but that is
a lot of mocks.
Have him going really high. Mocks have him going.
So I think Marvin's going to Arizona.
Marvin, I don't see a possibility that the Chargers could get Marvin.
Arizona's not.
But Malik is a strong possibility, and Brock is a strong possibility. Mm-hmm. You get Herbert another strong weapon. Bowers is going to be one of the best tight ends off rip. I firmly believe that. Mm-hmm. But
they need weapons. Like you see, like they have Keenan and Mike Williams, but Mike coming off the injury. They're both, I want to say, free agents at the end of next season. And beyond that, we can't trust Quentin Johnson to take over, and then you have really nothing there. I was looking just on Pro Football Reference. Before Harbaugh took over for the 49ers, it was 8 straight losing seasons where they're, you know, 3rd place, 4th place, 4th place, 3rd place. He comes in, they win 13 games. They had 8 straight years, outside of 1 year where the 4th ranked defense under Singletary. They had 4 straight years. They were never ranked in the top 20 of defense. Harbaugh comes in, 2nd ranked defense, 2nd ranked defense, 3rd ranked defense his first 3 seasons. So he's able to take over an organization. They're not a losing organization historically. Obviously, they have all the Super Bowls. But at that time, in the early 2000s, they were a losing organization.
They had
hitters, came in though. And, you know, took over and completely turned around the
Alden
franchise.
Smith, Justin Smith,
Patrick
Willis,
yeah.
Navarro Bowman.
Too.
That team was crazy.
Frank Gore was there.
For sure.
Alden Smith was
Crabtree.
nice.
Alden Smith was disgusting.
Alden Smith just wasn't dedicated to the grind. I feel like, didn't he get into some trouble?
He did get into some trouble.
Patrick Willis retired early.
He did retire early. Him and Navarro Bowman. I mean, what?
Yeah, they had some dogs.
And Justin Smith, yo, he was dirty.
He was good.